let's get into it, shall we? So, first of all, I want to say knowledge is somebody else's wisdom. Okay, that's so profound for me because it reminds me that instead of telling people what to do or how to do it, you know what I'm saying, we have to help them understand where they're at in their process so they can be able to see it themselves, to gain momentum, to learn, to expand on their own. Right? That's why I don't try to tell people what to do or what I think they should do. I'm just the messenger, right? Okay, so that being said, people have to feel it to understand what the words mean, what the knowledge means. So how do you do that? We have to go down our own rabbit holes. Rabbit holes is where we are drawn to or what we can't let go. Rabbit holes can help us figure ourselves out. It's the risk, right? And in life, we have to take risks to understand or to be or to have, you know, to figure out, right? And when you go down rabbit holes, take your risk, do whatever it is, always set an intention that that's what you're doing, figuring things out. And you, I always say this, take accountability that it was a choice. So you're able to learn more about yourself, because this is when shadow comes into play. If things don't work, you go to the underworld, and that's where transformation takes place. You know, it's not always pretty, but if you know these things, it helps you get through it so you can grow. You know, you have to go through it to understand something. How does that say it? You need to go through some things to understand some things. You know, knowledge is not enough. It's helpful. Yeah. And anyways, no matter what, everybody does it. You can get the best advice, right? You know, sometimes you do, and you know it's the right thing, but you can't help it because it's something that you need to figure out. Then you go down your rabbit hole. But always set an intention, that's what you're doing, and be accountable so you can come back to that and be grounded and be teachable. And it's important to humble yourself. Look, when you go down rabbit holes, when you start resisting somebody or you're self-sabotaging, pull back. Okay, and this is what I'm doing to myself. And give yourself some space and think. This is your journey, this is your process. You know? Alright. We hold on or have to let people hold on to their own energy and let it get heavy till it changes. So we have to be in certain energies and sit in that to really feel it, to want to change it. So you can even be involved in something, you're sitting in that energy enough to get heavy until you realize you need to let it go or it needs to change, right? And you have to allow things to play out like that when you're in like a relationship, right? You have to let people sit in their own shit long enough to want to change it and see the change, right? Be the change. If you don't let somebody sit in it long enough, or you don't sit in it long enough, it won't change. You'll go back and do it again until it gets heavier and heavier until it's like, are you ready? Are you ready to see? Are you ready to understand? Because what's in the dark will always come to the light for you. Yeah. That's why sometimes things can feel heavy when you go into underworld, you know? And you have to find your way through that day by day, step by step, until it's more clear for you. Some people won't. They'll let it keep going until it gets heavier and heavier and get destructive. So you got to recognize when you are going down your own rabbit hole and know yourself. You know, the shadows will come to play. And this is where you will start to understand why you do what you do. You know, see what you can do different. Because accountability and choices helps us to be more responsible for ourselves, and to be able to manifest, and to be able to recognize, and to be able to do, and how to be. Alright, see, mind you, I do that sometimes, so let's keep going. Because if someone's, telling you sweet nothings, begging you back, sometimes they can be fucking mean to you because you're not tameable no more. They can't control you. People lose control, so they do stupid things. You gotta be self-aware of this, and you self-sabotage too. Yeah, what was the other one? Another way it was just there. Fuck. A couple of ways you can recognize, that this is, if you give in too easily, is when they're begging, right? And I'm not saying, people should apologize and whatever, right? But when people recognize something about themselves, they should start working on it, and it will show for itself. Energy doesn't lie, because like I said, when you give in too easily or you let it go too easily, and then you haven't sat in it long enough to understand and to realize, your choices and what you can do, then it'll just keep repeating. I went down rabbit holes on purpose to learn this. I knew exactly what I was doing when I got into the things that I did. I just didn't know how it was going to feel. When you do things, you know what you're doing, but it hasn't hit you yet. And that's where the real work comes in, or transformation. But you have to be accountable. You have to know that it was a choice, so you could be teachable. I'm going to give a little bit more information because, everybody interprets messages different. So I'm going to give some metaphors on what I'm speaking of when we need to feel it to really understand it. Now, I'm going to give a bad one and a good one, whatever. So say you're in a relationship, right? And you go out, left your person at home, and, you start flirting with another person, right? And you know what you're doing, right? You know that if your spouse found out or your partner found out, it will hurt them. You know that. But you haven't felt it to understand the pain that you're going to cause. It hasn't hit you. See, you're not self-aware of the rabbit hole you're about to go on down, but it's going to teach you. It will. And eventually the person always finds out. It blows my mind. It blows my mind. Now, say that you are the one that's the good one, in the relationship, right? And you know that your person is toxic, right? And you should leave that person, but you can't help how you feel, the rabbit hole, right? What you're drawn to, what you can't let go. So now, what you're supposed to do is send an intention into figuring it out, right? Not just let it play out, whatever, right? And if you do it that way, it will hit you, right? Because you're not self-aware of what you're doing, because you haven't really, you're feeling it, but it has to get heavier for you to understand it. Where did I put it? We hold on, or have to let people hold their own energy and let it get heavy till it changes. We go through it so we can understand it. People have to go through their own process, and I know I'm repeating myself, but that's the way I work. And once you understand your own process, you will know how to work with yourself. And that's what I'm here to do. Help you through it, not judge it, and tell you what to do, but show you the things you can practice along the way, or recognize, to be able to see it for yourself. Because it's unavoidable. People say, I'll never do this. And I was just like, okay. You never do what? Because when you say you're never going to do, you probably end up doing. So never say never. People have a hard time letting things go, so I'm gonna tell you what happens in that process. It hasn't hurt enough to let it go. That's why. And people can say, man, yes, no. It hasn't hurt enough for you to let it go, to change it. And that's where it needs to go sometimes, until you start understanding your process and how to work with your rabbit holes. You know, you understand the way things work. Because we do this. We're human. We feel things, and you feel every single fucking emotion on your journey. And while you're feeling every single emotion, and you're taking a step back, taking accountability, being responsible for yourself, you understand why you do the things that you do, how you can do it different. This is about you. You know, once you learn more about you can understand how the fucking world works. You know how to work with it. You know how to be in it and not be scared of it or avoid it.